Morning. Meant to do a video yesterday. The one I just started I had to delete and start over because, well, it's starting to rain. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about a composting method known as pit composting. Now, whoa. This method of composting is a little bit more difficult to get started because you are going to be digging a pit, hence the name. Why am I talking about pit composting? Well, it's a lot more work, like I said, to get it going, but the benefits from it are just so amazing, it is unreal. You can start your pit in any number of ways in your growing area. You can either do it by where you normally have your row that you're growing food on, however you want to say it. Back up here a little bit better. Okay. You want your hole at least 3 feet deep. You really don't need it any deeper than that. 2 feet will be fine, but 3 feet is better deep, and then however long and wide you want. And you just start filling up the hole. Save the dirt that you took to make the hole. Save that. Don't do anything with that just yet, because you'll be covering up the pit when you get it full. You want to have at least you're digging down 3 feet, you're filling up the hole 2 feet, and then you're going to cover it up with the soil that you removed a foot to make your ground level again. You need to mark off this area so you know where you dug, because as the material inside starts to decompose, the ground is going to sink. Okay? Then you can just either cover it over with some more of your soil, or you can mulch it over with whatever mulching that you use. I prefer hay, but you each have your own thing. Now, why is this better, and why are you going to go through all of this trouble? Well, let me tell you. While it's in the ground, obviously it's going to be decomposing, and just like pile compost, all of the decomposing liquid is going to be going into the ground, yes, but it's going to be going deeper into the ground. You don't want to plant in this area for at least 2 seasons, and that's 8 months, so this is a process. That's why I say decide on if you're going to do a wide area or a small area, because you really do not want to be growing on this area for at least a season, because while it's decomposing, it's going to get hot in there. People misunderstand. They think a hot compost, well, how hot can compost get when it's decomposing? If you're doing a hot compost where you have nitrogen rich, that is the green manure that has liquid in it still, we went through this on my first video on composting, what green manure is, so you can go back and watch it if you'd like. Composting temperatures can get between 235 to 275 degrees in the center. This is why in the last video I recommended you do not use totally just wood chips, because that sucker will smolder and it will combust. They have been known to do so. It's just not a good idea to use only wood unless you have the ability to keep that puppy turned and wet down. Anyway, the pit composting, you're doing pretty much all composting methods in one. You can layer how you put the materials into the pit, which would be a good idea to layer it, but you don't have to. You can just throw everything in haphazard, whatnot. But when you cover that up, because it's going to retain moisture, especially if you put mulch on top of the area where you marked off and have your composting going on there. It's going to attract earthworms, and a lot of them, as it cools down and finishes composting, or especially when the cool down process starts. It's going to get earthworms in there. And when you do plant seeds or put your plants in there, if you only do one growing season where you let it sit and rot, make sure that the plants you put in that area have at least 90 days before they get fully mature from planting to producing. Okay? That's just best to do so, because them roots are going to grow down, all the way down into that compost. Okay? And the little plants aren't going to use up that compost as fast that down deep. Because if you have the compost on the ground, well, there's all kind of critters, that use dirt. And the better the dirt, the faster it disappears. That's about it. It lasts longer. Your compost that will actually last longer. You won't have to do the pit compost, but maybe once a year, instead of constantly turning your piles. Because like I told you in my last video, if you want compost within a season to use for next season, you need to work your compost pile, and yes, that does mean turning it. Okay, that's about it. If I did not explain that well enough, please let me know. It is very difficult doing these, explaining things to nobody and everybody at the same time. So, have a nice day.